Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Stephen the Warman Writes KickFighting Podcast Show. I'm your host, Stephen the Warman. You are listening to this podcast in various ways. The most efficient ways are to go to my blog, which is lordgaul.podbean.com. Lord Gaul was my name back when I used to be on the fight forums, K1 USA, Kakatugi, K1 fans, and so on. And then also enter Warman Kickfighting Show into the iTunes search engine, and my show pops right up. I'm going to go ahead and get right into the action. Been gone for a while, but now I'm back. Really wanted to start with Glory 100. Top to bottom, fantastic show. One of the best kickboxing shows of the year. A lot of talent, a lot of heavyweights banging it out, a lot of skill set. I will go bottom up. I was going to start with the main event, but I'll go bottom up. As I look at the cards here, I've got uh, Lurie Fernandez as he gets a victory over Samuel Balgis. I've got the notes here in front of me, so if you guys are wondering why I'm looking down as I'm doing it. We got a Dr. Savage by TKO to get the night started off. Iraj Ezapor gets a victory over Inat Elanku. This one was disappointing because when you look at the size of these guys, Aziz Poor, if you've ever seen him before, he's a smaller guy for a heavyweight in terms of height, but he's a thick guy, and he is really, really good at getting trick offense off. Spinning back fist at the right time, spinning hook kick at the right time. He's just subtle, 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 and then all of a sudden you'll see him score one of those or throw one of those. Good job of getting scorecards when he does so because it kind of comes out of nowhere. But when we saw these guys, you're thinking, okay, they're gonna get in the pocket and they're gonna let it go, and it just never came about. It was a split decision, could have gone either way, but Azapor gets it and moves on. Next we have Artis. Don't want to mess his name up. Aniz Bouzid as he gets a victory over Asadali Mizapov, one of the better fights of the undercard. Bouzid shows fantastic kickboxing, and as a guy who wants to see extreme talent move forward or good talent move forward, he came out. He's more of a guy who looks like a more like heavyweight type, like that he can make it pretty easy. He's very skilled, very good kickboxing. Nazapov showed some good offense as well. Both guys, I can't remember correctly, but I believe knockdowns were exchanged by both guys. And then in the extra round, it went in the way of Bouzid, who I did think at the time, I believe that I thought he won during regulation, but when they went to the extra, he was able to cement it. Good fight, good action. Nazapov proved himself in terms of his grit and his ability to battle back because he had a rough start, but just fantastic fight on a good kickboxing card. Next, Nico Pereira Horta gets a victory over Colin George. Colin George never got out of first gear. I think some of the judges, I want to say, gave him the third round, but Horta, with George is a big guy, was able to score consistent offense throughout, was able to get off the line. George didn't give himself a chance to win in some of the rounds, and I say that because he just didn't offer enough offense to get himself up on the scorecards. So, good stuff for Nico. Talented guy, big guy, a guy who I expect to be fighting in glory for the next, 3, 4 years. Just George, a little bit older now, still skilled, just wasn't able to get out of out of first gear. I mess up this name all the time. So Milos Sitikanen gets a victory over Kim Caceres. Kim Caceres was one of the guys who I thought was going to go on for sure. He's super talented. I thought he started a little slow, in terms of, what his skill set offers. And I thought Milos did a good job of jumping on him there. But, really, it's just had the close guard. And then I want to say it was a cut stoppage. It's been a little bit. I want to say it was a cut stoppage. But Kim Caceres showed the skill set, and I thought that he was arguably, winning the rounds before the stoppage happened. But man, it's just that one moment of staying behind your guard just long enough, and Milos was able to take advantage of it. Afterwards, when the stoppage happened, because the fight was looking good, so the crowd was booing and whistling and so on, and Milos got in the mics like, "Hey, there's nothing I can do about it. I came to win. It went my way, and he seemed like as usual down to do it again because that's what we get in the kickboxing world. Fantastic stuff there. In terms of just how he handled things, considering it was a fight and he was out there to compete, and I think he would have taken the result if it had gone the other way. But you just never know with cuts and injuries and shin on shin and broken noses. It's combat sports, and congratulations to Milos. He moved on. Next is Brajan Poposhi as he gets a victory over Demez Demirkopova. several knockdowns scored by Proposhi in the fight. Proposhi in the fight. Talented guy. Want to see more of him down the road. Just you never know where you're going to get with him, but I thought that he is skilled, and I think that he has the potential to be at the top. But it hasn't been consistent enough. But tonight was his night, and he showed a lot of good things. Got the knockdowns, got the victory. Muhammad Tuchasi gets a victory over Sirkin Akalajojan Kalayan, Azokalayan. Did a good job in this one with Muhammad Tatoshi is a talented guy who has had some frustrating fights, like fights where I'm like, I cannot believe this guy is in this situation again, like where he has the ability to be one of the best in the world, and then it just won't show up the right way or the way that I think it should on fight night. But I mean, he's a super talented guy, and I was glad he was able to put it together here. And of course, Sirkan, who's fought for a title before, and uh, been in the glory for a while, and I expect to see him in glory for the next few years. Wasn't his night, 30-27, didn't get out of first gear, looking for his power shot a little bit too long. Got to give credit to Totoshi for staying off the line, scoring consistent offense with the boxing and the kicks. Just a good performance on a night where I think he needed it. But he's got the skill. I don't look at him and go, hey, this guy's unskilled. He shouldn't be there. He's got the skill, but it just doesn't come together always on fight night. So congrats to him. Mori Kroma gets victory over Alin Nishida 30-26. There's a knockdown scored in this one. Again, when you get so many big guys, I think the expectation is always go out there, see a KO, go out there, see a KO. And sometimes it's just good work and you get a knockdown, but then you just got to go right back to it. Mori Kroma gets a good, solid victory and continues to move forward. We'll see how he does in the tournament. There are very skilled guys that he could, that are down there that's going to be trouble, but he still got a good time or a very solid victory here. Braham Rajavzada is a star. Like he is a whenever he comes out and fight, you see the crowd. There's like a hush about them. They know he's coming for the kill. They know he's gonna leave it in there. He's gonna just go guns blazing. He's all the way in on trying to beat you by stoppage. And if he doesn't beat you by stoppage, it is what it is. But like he's game and he's susceptible to get hit because of who he is. But man, is he talented, and man, does he bring an aggression. And I want to say in the last 3 years, I think by far he's fought more than any other fighter in glory. I feel like he's on every card, like they use him a lot. He gets Azrin Gashi here, and again, just the early barrage. You got to do something with this guy because he's guns blazing. He doesn't care if he gets hit. He's throwing his hardest. He'll mix his kicks to punches, and he was able to have success. He was able to score a knockdown, and then he finished it up with the KO shortly afterwards, all within 1 minute. Just guns blazing. Just interesting addition to the kickboxing world. I'm hoping he gets the opportunity at Rico at some period of time, just because I want to see what it looks like. He's just all action. Next, we move up to Tariq Asaro Cookie as he gets Luigi Gashi, stops him in the first round. Cookie won that tournament. Of course, last year he lost his opportunity when he fought Rico. And again, the big thing that I had said at the time was he just couldn't get out of first gear. Like what happens when you can't. He never got going, and Rico is just going to keep scoring. Rico is more confident in his offense probably than any, heavyweight kickboxer in the world. He knows that I can go out and he knows he can land his boxing. He knows he can land his low kicks afterwards. He doesn't go into any fight with any sort of discomfort or uncertainty about what he can do when he's out there. Rico is Rico. So when Cookie got the opportunity for him, he was able to perform just in terms of showing up and throwing offense here and there, but he never looked confident. Tonight he looked confident. He came out, walked Luigi down, scored big offense, stops it in round one, and moves on. Sofian Ludbuni gets a victory over Jamal bin Sadiq. Unfortunate, that's the game. Another doctor stoppage here. Sadiq, they did a good job of like pushing his story and talking about how what he'd come back from, and you brought up he got the prison sentence, if I remember correctly, in terms of the language of that, and he ends up working through some things, getting some people around him, and talented, big, huge guy who's had some success in moments against Rico. But this night, injury stoppage in round one. He didn't even get the fight. That's the biggest thing. He didn't get to show what he could do. Both guys were in the early stage. Shout out to Sofian. He's in there. He's banging it out. He's looking to get a W himself. It just didn't go their way on the score, in terms of the fight. Everybody wanted to see this go further. It just didn't happen. So, unfortunate. Sadiq will be back in a couple of weeks. We're getting close to the Glory 23rd, August 23rd card. So he's back on that card. But just wasn't, sometimes the injuries happen and the stoppages happen. And, that's no fault of Sofian. He came to win. Next up, we go to Nico Pereira Horta as he gets a victory over Milo. Split decision. Like I mentioned before, Horta, big guy, put on some good offense. Milos, undersized. I was thinking that he'd have a few more moments with his speed, and he did. But overall, I thought that the rounds were carried by Nico. Fine with either. I understood that there was a split and it was a close fight, but I really liked Nico's work, and I thought that he did a good job. He moves on in the tournament. Then we go back to Tariq Osari as he gets Sofian Blabuni, as we mentioned before. KO, stoppage with punches in the second round. Tonight, this particular night, Tariq Osari, Cookie was a monster. Like, he looked fantastic, no pun intended. He is a fantastic fighter. This was one of his moments when he gets that power going, when he walks you down, when he's confident. And again, he's got sporadic and the right amount of kickboxing offense to lead to his big boxing offense. Fantastic stuff by Asari. He wins by stoppage. He moves on. Patch Panamarung, who they're just calling Patch mainly, but Patch Panamarung, Ketmo 9, gets a victory over Miguel Trindad. And let me tell you something about this. There was a body shot knockdown scored on a straight left, right down the middle by Patch. Fantastic stuff. Miguel did a good job to recover. Despite the fact that Miguel Trindad lost this fight, in the way that I watched Masaki Nori, who struggled with Yuta Kubo, he got a little bit better every time. Like, he figured it out, and then the third one he won. In this one, Petch, of course, super difficult because he plays that single kick game. The single kick, single punch, gets off the line, very rarely plays combos, kicks you in the arm to knock you off balance. He did a fantastic job, in my personal opinion, in this one, to get a little bit more offense every time. A few more of the low kicks, a few more with the boxing, a few more. The ring generalship term that you hear sometimes. It's really, they don't do the best job of explaining all the time, but ring generalship showed by Petch, I think, is the reason why he won it. The rounds felt like they're Petch rounds. So, like, one thing I tell my students, a lot of times people think the winner of a round is the one who scores the most, or the one who scored the most significant shot. I would say overall in all combat sports, the person that wins the round the most consistently is the one who makes the round the story about them. If you go back and say, hey, you landed this spinning head kick, and it got you a knockdown, the story of the round is a spinning head kick. If you scored a lot of low kicks and the other guy's limping, the story of the round is a lot of low kick damage. Excuse me, I meant before the spinning hook, the spinning hook kick knockdown. That's the story of the round. The combinations and the low kicks are hurting you. The low kicks are the story of the round. If you keep making the story of the round about your offense, you've got a good chance to have success. As I mentioned earlier with Azapor. Azapor does a good job of nobody's doing anything. All of a sudden, he puts in one of his tricks, and the judges only remember the trick. So he made the story of the round about the trick that he did. So when you watch Petch fight, even if you want to go off of connects, because I believe on the official scorecard at the end, Miguel Trindad had had more offense scored. But the feel of the fight and the feel of the rounds was Patches walking around, scoring clean left hands and straight shots to the body. He's taking shots here and there from Miguel, but he's not hanging out, not taking anything that could break him down. And he wins 50-43 on most scorecards. I think one judge gave Miguel the last round. But in this fight, which was an all right fight, Miguel Trindad he's got to have to work for it, but he does appear to be the future. Like, he has every skill that you want from an elite high-level kickboxer. He's got KO power in both hands. He's got good combination of low kick flow. He can hurt you with low kicks, he can hurt you with body kicks. Good off time to offense when he wants to. Good consistent offense when he wants to. He has every skill. But Petch is probably the best of his era at that weight class. He'll probably be remembered as one of the all-time greats. It's the fights that he's in, they turn into hey, you're playing a Thai style fight. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You've got to try to beat me at beating me, and that me being me, and that's what makes him elite. So Petch continues his winning ways. I'll bring up his name a little bit later because Chatri from One Championship mentioned, oh, you shouldn't fight for me anymore. I'm going to pay you way more, that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of that kind of stuff going on in the world of kickboxing. So just wanted to bring up what Patch is doing in his dominance and how skilled he's been lately. Fantastic job here. Donovan Vize versus Michael Boyopaya is what you want from a middleweight championship bout. Both guys had moments. Boyopaya is in his prime. He's really fallen in love with the calf kick. He was able to get on Vize early with it. Vize's got the power boxing where he stands in the pocket. So Boyopaya just played a strong guard and attacked the calf. Early in the fight, it's looking at least it's after three, it's two. I think Boyopaya is thinking 2-1 in those moments. I'm doing good. Still close fight, but he'd really done well. But man, Donovan Vize really proved himself and showed his grit and showed his desire to be and stay champion when you go into those later rounds. Because in rounds 3, 4, 5, in particular 4, 5, it was Visa. Like he is closing the distance. Bopea's got less and less calf kicks. The work from Visa, his combinations and spots, his low kick work, the way that he has the right moment for split knees, but just his power offense going down the stretch. If it came down to who won it, he wanted it. And it was a split decision because, again, I think this fight's going to come down to how people saw I want to say the third. I have to, the first is the only one that's a little hazy to me. The second round, if I remember correctly, was very much a Bopea round with the calf kicks. But man, I'm telling you, Vize powered through despite it to get to the victory. Now, I will mention this. The crowd was booing a little bit. I think they wanted to see, because of the low kick work, I think that they had leaned towards Bopea had won the crowd. And because Donovan Vize has been champion for a while, I think people wanted to see, hey, could this be an upset? Could he get enough of him? I really thought that Visa, in my personal opinion, really took this fight. Like it was close, and he really made sure I'm gonna win these last rounds. I was watching boxing, earlier in the month, and Katie Taylor's coach told her clearly with Toronto, you got to win these last 2 rounds, and she went out and she won those 2 rounds. I think in this situation, Visa felt this is close. I don't know how 3 went. I probably lost 1 and 2. I probably lost one of the first 3, or 2 of the first 3 rounds. Time to dig, time to go. And he did so, and he won, and he became champion in split decision. 48-47. I think was a 46-48 as well, or 49. And then I think 48-47, 48, 47-48. 3 scorecards to 2 for Donovan Vize. Or excuse me, 4 scorecards to 1, I want to say, to Donovan Vize, if I remember that correctly. Next up, Mori Kroma gets a victory over Brahma Rajamzadi. Boy, they did a whole lot of living in this 2 minutes and 14 seconds. There was several penalties by Rajabzada, who threw punches after a ref break, who hit Kroma when he's on the ground. They had to stop the fight for a moment. Marshall, the CEO, jumped up on the ropes and said, "Hey, let the refs handle it. Let the refs handle it." And more, and just he's Frenchman from from remember correctly. He looks at as clear as possible was, "Hey, he's like doing illegal tactics. He hit me on the ground. Like he's like making his argument for he's doing illegal stuff. Of course I'm mad." And Marshall just said, "Hey, I understand. Let the refs handle it." Great job. Like of not getting involved. Marshall didn't get into the ring. He stayed in the outside and he said, "Hey, let the refs handle it." Worked it out to an upset guy. They restart the fight. Rajamzada is doing all of his crazy stuff, still, being himself. And it should be noted, I worked a fight in Azerbaijan recently, and I brought up Rajabzada, and then like some of the locals would say, "Hey, just so you know, he's a little bit off. like he's a different guy. He's a little bit off." But man, he's just did a fantastic job of bringing a entertaining fight all the time. And Chroma was looking for his opportunities in between the madness. He was able to hurt him with a shot, and then as he closed the distance, perfect flying knee landed right in the button. Rajabzada goes down. It is a knockout. When Rajabzada gets up, he doesn't think he's knocked out, so he's like fighting his fight team. He's trying to get back in the fight. It was a spectacular moment on what was already a really fun card. Big time stuff, good win for Krama in a very, very wild scene. Like if you talk about kickboxing moments of the year, you're gonna remember that moment. Next up, we have Sergey Mosabloyev versus Tariq Kababez. Three knockdowns after perfect, clean boxing and low kick work throughout. Tariq Kababez was having a hard time of cornering, stopping. Because Tariq Kababez, when he gets into his kickboxing flow, he looks as good as anybody in the world when he gets his boxing and his low kick chops going. But he couldn't get Sergey Mosabloyev to play the game. He couldn't get him to stay in front. Couldn't get Mosabloyev would score well, get off the line. Score well, get off the line. Dead times where he makes Tariq, okay, you've got to earn your offense. You've got to come over. Your jab's got to lead you in here. You've got to show me you've got those skills. And as soon as he gets there, he relocates. And he never stayed there. Scored consistent offense throughout. Gets the boxing going. Gets Tariq Kababez hurt. 3 knockdowns scored in the 4th round. I've mentioned this story a million times, and I'm going to mention it a million more. The only time that I was ever able to sign an international talent, I could make suggestions before, but the only time I was ever able to sign a talent was when Corey Hemmers let me go after Sergey Mosabloyev. And I was like, I'd sent fights. I said, I truly believe this guy could be Glory Light Heavyweight Champion. He's very talented. A little bit older now, 38, 39. Doesn't matter. He's still dope. I made a strong push for getting him. And then we're going back and forth. And Sergey was the one who let me know a little bit about his one championship experience and so on. So in our messages. But I told him that I believe that he could be the best. And I wanted him to get the opportunity. So of course, through the ups and downs, the what happened, injury, stoppage, and to lose the title one time, and then a decision that I think he felt was in his favor that didn't go his way. His experience with Rabzada, I've always felt like skill set wise, he's one of the best. He has the right type of boxing, the right type of movement. He knows how to fill dead time. He knows how to work his jab upstairs and downstairs. The right type of explosion. He can come out with a spinning hook kick, with a flying knee. He is a complete total package of a kickboxer. He has every skill. I would have loved for him to fight Alex Pereira before he left, but he's got every skill. Tariq Kababez, awesome fighter. He'll be back in the light heavyweight title picture. It just was Sergey Mosabloyev's night. He's just a special, special talent, even though he's getting older. So glad that they keep using him. I just love him as a fighter. Fantastic, fantastic talent. Next up, we've got Rico Verheerven as he goes against Artem Vakadov. I made a video, and shout out to everybody who watched my video. I've got to get back into making these hype videos when we get special kickboxing fights. Yuki Yoza, who we're going to talk about a little bit, if he ends up fighting Haggerty, I'm going to make a video for it. Like, I think that those are two special talents. I was able to make this video with Rico Verheerven and Artem Vakadov, and I got a lot of love online. Anytime you get something to, your 40,000 views sort of things, I really appreciate that. I do it because I love it. I love you. I love kickboxing, and I was glad to put that YouTube video together. It didn't take me forever because they've got a lot of content. I did in like a day or something like that. But I was grateful that it got out there, and then it got buzz, and that people liked it. So when the fight happened, the story of the fight is round one. Artem Vakadov, I truly believe, had the skill set and the skills to beat Rico Verheerven. When he gets offline, when he gets his boxing flow going, when he gets his sporadic kick game, whether he plays the low kick or he plays the power boxing, I believe he has those skills. Rico, as I mentioned before, is going to be Rico, one of the all-time greats in kickboxing, and he's so confident that he can box to low kick with anybody on the planet. He'll go boxing, he'll knee your leg, he'll pop the inside, and he's not even playing the calf kick yet, like everybody else is playing with it. He's fully confident that he's going to hurt you on your quad. He could care less. He's going to work his power boxing. He's going to put his powerful chops in with those big old legs. He's going to work the inside leg of the rear leg. He's going to work, and I got to bring this up. People have been giving Yuki Yoza a lot of credit for that, for using the rear leg towards the other opponent's rear leg. Rico Verheerven's been doing it for years. Boxing, getting off that center line and then firing at that back leg, that's been Rico. So don't exclude Rico from that conversation. He was doing it before Yuki Yoza was famous. So shout out to Rico for being who he is. The power boxing, the low kicks. He did so much physical damage to Artem Vakadov in round one that I don't think Vakadov was able to get going. Now, again, when you hear me say that, it almost sounds like Rico dominated the round. I don't think that it was dominating in terms of like he had like Artem hurt and so on, but just the flow of round one, where Artem is he's out there diagnosing, very much like Andre Ward, the boxer. He spends some time diagnosing sometimes, where he's like, "Hey, this how fast does this go? How hard does this hurt? Or how hard did this kick land? How much did the boxing in my guard hurt? Okay, I got him figured out. Time to go." I think as he's playing that game, Rico's getting up, and I just think he took too much damage. So then rounds, four through, or 2 through 5, he just wasn't able to get anything going consistently enough to get Rico off of the work that Rico did in round one. Rico takes the rest of the rounds, and he gets the victory. The other thing I'd like to mention is something that stuck with me always, and I've mentioned this before. Remy Bonjowski fought Mirko Krokop in K1, and Krokop stopped him in the second round. And Mirko put a camp together for down the road, and he brought in Rico, or excuse me, he brought in Remy, and he brought in Wendell Roche, and he brought in like several guys to help with this camp. And he had been fighting MMA for like 5 years or something like that at the time. He was fully committed. He was no longer doing kickboxing. So then he brings out Remy, and Remy gets sparring and so on. And they're doing these interviews like after the training camp. And they asked Remy, "Hey, what did you notice about working with Krokop?" And he says, and I'll never forget this. He says he's not as good as he used to be in terms of the kickboxing flow that he had wasn't the same. His eye for kickboxing offense wasn't the same. What Remy was trying to say there wasn't that he wasn't a good fighter. What he was trying to say is the style he had before was built towards winning rounds in kickboxing. And uh, Remy felt more confident at the time. When they first met, Remy was, a up and comer, training 3 days a week, who got the opportunity because he had success in Holland and he, good management ties and so on. He said, Remy had always said that the thing that turned it around from him is he had a friend that ran a bank, who I think he ran a bank, but he sponsored him. He goes, "Hey, if you're going to beat these guys, you've got to train 5, 6 days a week. You can't just do this 3 days a week." He got the K1 training 3 days a week. So, and it could have been, excuse me, I could have that wrong. Remy could have been working at the bank, and then he met someone who suggested, "Hey, this is how you have to live if you go to beat these guys." So if I look at the situation with uh, Artem Vakadov and Remy explaining, "Hey, after you fight MMA for a while, if you go over to do kickboxing rounds, it's extremely difficult. Like the game is different, the speed is different, the total number of offensive strikes thrown around is different." I'm wondering if that's what happened with Artem Vakadov. If you go out there and you're fighting world class kickboxer, it's skill versus skill. But if you go out there and you're an elite level kickboxer and you have all the talent in the world to beat the best guys, but it doesn't go but the your opposition in MMA knows that you're a world class kickboxer. They're coming out, they're playing you different. They're not exchanging with you. They're looking for takedowns. They're trying to put you in the cage. Did doing that for Vakadov, did that cause him to, you know, get out of the habit of going against elite level guys? Would it have been better for him to take a tune up kickboxing fight and then go against Rico? As we mentioned before on the show, he made a business decision when he decided to take this fight. He said, he had the K1 contract or the UFC contract he had earned through the Contender Show. He looked at it. He looked at what he had accomplished in kickboxing. He looked at his years in life and said, "Hey, how long is it going to take me 3 fights a year to build up and get?" There was a small glitch. You guys might have noticed it, but anyways, as Vakadov, as I was saying before, looked at his years in life, looked at how long he'd been in the game, looked at what he had accomplished financially in the kickboxing world, asked himself, "Do I want to start over? Do I want to do 3 years, or 3 fights a year is your UFC contract? It's usually four, but they've got to give you 3 fights in a year. Do I want to go back into starting a little bit lower? I believe the starting rate for UFC right now is 12,000 to show, 12,000 to win. Do I want to go back there, work up through the years, and then possibly get an opportunity to fight for a title down the road, possibly get the opportunity to make good finances, whereas I've already built myself into a pretty good financial spot. I've got a family to take care of. You saw the daughter, that I posted, in this video, he's got a family, he's got to make decisions based off of that. He decided to go into the kickboxing world. Because of that, did that affect his preparation? Would it not have been better, as I mentioned before, to get a tune-up fight or get something like that before you go against Rico. But was he offered so much for the Rico opportunity that he was like, I think kickboxing is the route I want to go no matter what. And of course, you're a fighter. Most fighters aren't going to believe that hey, it didn't go my way this time, or I'm not this level, or just because I want MMA doesn't mean I can go back to kickboxing. But we do have a history of this. You know, Stefan Leko is an extremely gifted fighter, very talented. You know, one of the best of his era. I think his best K1 run was a semifinal appearance. But man, he's a name. He's been in the game for a while. I remember him talking about mixed martial arts. I remember him talking about he had an injury and so on, and they offered a fight. He said the fight was so much money. He says, I got to take this fight. And he went out there, and the guy was able to take him down and submit him. But after he did MMA for a little bit, he tried to go back to kickboxing. And I remember him saying he already knew he was the best in the world in kickboxing. He already knew it. But then he had the Rico or the fights with Bonjasky, where he had the loss, where he didn't like the decision, and then I think Bonjasky stopped him the next time, if I remember correctly. But the flow and the consistency, we're talking about a guy who once beat Peter Arts. You know, we're talking about a guy who is a elite name in kickboxing and had been doing it for a while. He went over to MMA when he returned to the kickboxing world. He wasn't the same guy. I'm wondering if this was what Artem Vakhdev, who seemed to have made the right decision financially for his family and for his future, would he have been helped if he got the opportunity to fight a tune-up fight to get himself back into the flow of things? But at the same time, you know, it's still a risk. And, you know, kickboxing is a sport of very rare opportunities to put on extremely elite, fights. And this is an extremely elite fight, even though it didn't go that way as far as the final result of the fight and as far as the action in the ring. But I do think that he made the right decision. And as I mentioned with Rico, we're talking about all-time great. Everything he does just builds on his resume. His legacy cemented. It's just going to be depend on who you are when you talk about what he is in history. What I mean by that is this: it's very hard for people to be put over the golden era of heavyweight kickboxing, and the reason why I say that is let's look at Peter Arts for example. Shimmy Schilt was dominant, and Shimmy Schilt has a great run in the 2000s, but if you think about it, if I'm remembering correctly, it's either, I want to say it's 2 wins to one. I'd have to bring it up, but I know that Peter Arts, who was great in his prime of the 90s. I mean, they literally had a K1 World Grand Prix that was titled "Who Can Stop Peter Arts?" Like that was the theme to it going into it. You know, like that's how great of a fighter he was in that era. So he had his great era where he had his three, tournament wins. He's got the highlight reel KO stoppages. When he fights Simi Schilt, he is past his prime, and he has a 2-1 victory lead over Simi Schilt after his prime. So he's fighting Simi when Simi's in his prime, and he's got a 2-1 victory lead over him. I think that goes a long way. I think that there's something that should be said for that. And again, I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. It could be 3-2, like they could have fought 5 times, but I think they fought 3 times. And I just know that he's got a 1 match lead over Semi Schilt. But I look back at that and look at that era and I go, okay, he had much harder opposition. Like for Rico, it's hard throughout his whole career to identify who's the number 2 guy. And that really goes a long way. That hurts you in the long run. No fault of your own. But I can look at the era of the 90s and go, okay, top 5, 10, 10 guys. I'm looking at my, Arts. I'm looking at my Hoos. I'm looking at my Hoogs. I'm looking at my Lebanners. I'm looking at who I think got to the finals was his best year. Sikatic, I don't think anyone ever considers him an all-time great, even though he had that first tournament win. But he's still a name of note who was a powerful guy who's got a lot of scary KOs. He's got a lot of scary KO losses too. But like, I look at that era of fighting and it's so easy to identify who your top 5, 10 guys are, whether it's Mike Bernardo, whether it's, whatever, order you want to put them in, the Kyoko Shinrise when Phil Hill came in and, Glaber Vitoza a little bit more later down the road. I look at that era of fighter and I look at those guys and I go, it's so easy to say who 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is. That hurts Rico because there's really difficult for you to look at the guys underneath and say, okay, outside of, Rico, who are the guys that were consistently at the top. And because that has been interchangeable throughout the years, kind of like Tiger Woods, the guys when Tiger was at the top, it was interchangeable who gave him pushes throughout the years. So it's hard to recognize someone's greatness when something like that happens. But in terms of legacy being who'd you beat, how'd you beat him, when'd you beat him, how many times did you do it? Like when you look at those kind of questions, man, Rico's got to be right at the top. He was dominant in his era. He had the early, losses. I remember he was in the tournament. He lost to Shimmy Schilt, and I told you guys this story before. In my documentary, he talked about it. He said, when we get to the top, his coach told him after that Shimmy Schilt loss, when we get to the top, when we're the guy, when we get there, we're going to stay there. Like I remember him saying this in the interview what I did for the documentary. And here we are, years later, all-time great. He did not have to put himself in that kickboxing tournament last year. He put himself in the tournaments just so he had that on his resume. He doesn't have a K1 World he doesn't have a K1 World Grand Prix title tournament on his resume. He jumped into a tournament to prove that that was something that he could do as well. Always having the challenge, always having the push. He was the guy who flirted with MMA for a little bit, and people are like, "Are you going to go in that direction?" And of course, I work with a lot of guys in mixed martial arts, and the idea of the media is you're only doing kickboxing to get you good enough to maybe one day go into the MMA world. Everything's about going to the UFC one day. And he looked at it, looked at where he was, decided he loved kickboxing, and he stayed with it. And he's one of our biggest stars, very financially secure. Fight sold out, superstar, well known. I bet you everybody in the country knows who Rico Verhoeven is. His legacy is cemented. Like he's all time great. Anything he does is just building on what he's already accomplished. Absolutely fantastic fighter. Absolutely fantastic job. Gonna go ahead and jump into some of the other results. We're gonna go ahead and go to Rise. We'll look at just a title fight that I missed. I want to talk about the women's game. I hadn't done it, and I usually like to take the time and bring up elite female kickboxers when I get the opportunity. And it was a good card throughout, but I'm just going to talk about the top of. Tessa DeCom gets a victory over Minaza Kobayashi, who I've brought up on this show several times before. I remember Kobayashi, even though she didn't beat Tiffany Von Soos, I remember messaging Robbie Timmers from Glory Kickboxing and say, hey, now that you guys have got the relationship with Rise, wouldn't be a bad idea to look at Kobayashi versus, excuse me, I said Kobayashi would be a good fighter to suggest for the title. It's like she'd be a good one to go against Tiffany Von Soos. Not thinking anything of it, just brought it up randomly. And then like a few weeks later, I see that it's announced that they're fighting. And then Robbie messaged me back. He said, you did a good job. He said, thank you for bringing that up. It helps with the relationship. So she's very talented. She doesn't have natural KO pop. Like she can score clean. She's got good combo to low kick game when she gets it going, but rarely does she hit someone and they stay hurt as she goes against elite competition. But she scores well, and she's a very good kickboxer. Tessa DeCom, if there was a glory type platform, you would see her as one of the best in the world. She's very skilled, very skilled. Good kickboxing floor, very good boxing, stays in the pocket. She has every tool that you want to see in an elite fighter. She was able to win this one clear, 50-46, I think, on all three scorecards. Very, very talented fighter. I guess it's just more about platform, and it's more about fight opportunities. You hope and you wish and you desire that there could be some sort of tournament or some sort of format that gets women elite recognition. Unfortunately, at this moment, we haven't accomplished that in the women's game. Our best was to have Glory when they had a women's division. That champion was recognized and won championship. They have a division. We recognize some of the girls, but the inactivity kind of hurts it. I think that Jackie Bunton could really be household name in the kickboxing and Muay Thai world, and I think that she is known. But whenever you don't have the consistent content, it's easy for people to forget about you, and think that, oh, okay, she's fighting, as opposed to, I can't wait for her to fight. Like there's a different feel, and I think that Janet Todd being out the game, she was another recognizable figure. Anissa Mexican, who's fought for every organization that there is, she is very talented. I think she'd like to be more regular, but at the same time, it's always tough because there's only so many girls. So because we don't have that consistency, it would help if there was some form of tournament where, I don't know, some cross promotions got all the girls together, and then we could have like one really really elite, showcase for a female fighter. But for whatever reason, we've never been able to put that together. She gets another victory, and we're not able to follow up on it the way that we would like to. But I do want to take the time to say that Von Kam is one of the best in the world. She's a super talent, and hopefully the platform will come. Like, this is a good win. It's international. She gets to fly to Japan, gets to get a victory. She's very very good. But hopefully this victory will someday lead to more. It'll lead to some sort of showcase where, in the way we had no K1 Max, and then we had a K1 Max, and it became the prominent second division in kickboxing for people to pay attention to. The way we look at 70 kgs is different by what they accomplished with the K1 Max. I'm hoping that they can do something with the women so that we can get that type of opportunity to give her, to give Tessa Vakam that type of recognition, because she really is super, super talented and very good. Next, I want to talk about this crush card. I'm not going to talk about any fight in specific. I just want to say this is probably one of the more violent cards of the year. The Jinbo Katsuya KO. We had the Hashimamoto Reda KO. Again, these are like one punch, one hitter quitters. Like, just, Yuma Kimura had one of those. Ryu had one over Higashimoto. Hisaki. They were like, they're online. I think Beyond Kickboxing got them up. One hitter quitters. Like just, it was a violent card. Like, just, a lot of stoppages. It's, you almost want a mix. You want skilled high level kickboxing that, where people carry the rounds and do great stuff, but you also want to be extremely conscious of the fact that, hey, we want the best in the world to compete with the best in the world, and we want some rounds, but we want some KOs. Because if there's one thing that mixed martial arts has over the kickboxing and boxing world, you can literally make KOs happen with matchmaking. So you put the right type of person, gets the right type of person, and even if they have winning records, the person that ends up dying all the time is always on the, I mean, I say it like that. The person that ends up getting killed is usually the more unskilled on the regional circuit, but they have a good record, and then they go against another person that's a killer, and you can almost script a KO. Like, I've seen it in, different organizations throughout the world where I could put this person with this person and I could make a KO happen. It doesn't always happen in mixed in kickboxing and Muay Thai. There is a strong desire to make sure that you're putting on good quality and the best product in terms of the talent that's out there. Which means if you got good person versus good person, you don't always get a KO. So just, I tell people that whenever you get a card where kickboxing has a decent amount of stoppages, it really does build the sport, because the exchange offense is always going to carry. It's always going to be elite. I would still say, as a person who loves combat sports, I love boxing. I watch as much as I can. I love kickboxing. I love Muay Thai. I love mixed martial arts. I watch and I consume as much as I can. I feel like the most entertaining flow of kickboxing offense between all the combat sports is done in the kickboxing world. Like, that's just my personal opinion. So when we put it together and it looks great, it looks great. But the stoppages matter. So we have a card of just really high level, effective kickboxing, and there's like 20 fights and there's 19 decisions. It doesn't always go over as good, because in the heyday of, heavyweight kickboxing, people were dying on them cards all the time, top to bottom. So people, even if they like the action, they want to see stoppages. So that's just something that, if you ever get a card like this crash card, it's always fun to sit down and see this type of action take place. Another female fight I want to bring up is the Alicia Helen Rodriguez, as she gets a stop over Joanna Pearson. And she is still your atomweight champion for one championship. Again, full card, but I just want to talk about the ones at the top. One championship does so many fights and, so many events every week. They don't have the best map, so they don't have like a ranking system that says, hey, this person beats this person. That means this person's going to fight this person. Regan Ursul's fighting coming soon. And I'm not even quite sure who the gentleman is that he's fighting, because I don't remember him fighting in one championship as much. Sometimes I do have a struggle with, though I want to, sit down and make much of the fighters that are competing on the one championship brand, they do something every week, and it's a little bit tough to decide or figure out who's who, you know. And in this particular situation or this particular card, they've got some good stuff. You know, Shadows on this card. He got a victory over Muhammad Yunus Rabah. That was a no contest. Sorry, the victory I was thinking of was Vladimir Kuzmin against Stefan Konet. I did get to see that one. Karate. I got to see that one, and then I also got to see the Martina Krikinza, Krikinski against Cynthia Flores. I got to see a little bit of that fight. There were a couple of MMA fights in there as well, but I didn't get to give you guys a good full breakdown. Abdullah Diyukev got a KO as well. I was looking at this card. I just didn't recognize the names as much as I've recognized other cards. So I just wanted to focus mainly on the main event. I took a little bit of time to mention those winners, but the Rodriguez stoppage was special. So first, uh, Joanna has been playing the lead knee, like she'd been playing the tap, as we call it. She's playing a lot on the front leg, and then as she was going into the progress of either a switch knee or a switch kick, she was caught with a left hook mid movement, and it took her down for the first knockdown. But you could see she wasn't all there. The thing that I liked about Rodriguez's finish was how patient it was. The Brazilian closes the distance. She starts to put a paw jab out to get herself to close the distance. And then all of a sudden she shoots 1, 2, 3. She goes around the corner. She hits and hurts her opponent again, who's already hurt. Not in a rush. The motion, like there's no part of her. She didn't go berserk. She didn't like bite down the mouthpiece and just start throwing kill shots because she had a wounded victim. She patiently worked her way in. Shot cross hook, landed clean for the KO. Absolutely fantastic stuff by Alicia Helen Rodriguez. Again, big win, international opportunity. It's always cool that you get flown out to a fight opportunity. It's always cool that you get that. I am not from, well, even though I think she's based in Thailand. It's cool for international fighters to get opportunities. If I'm in Brazil and I'm fighting in Japan, I've accomplished something. If I'm in London and I'm fighting in Thailand, I've accomplished something. People want that international resume. They want those opportunities. They want to build up. So congratulations to her. And again, one championship probably saves a ton of money by how many fighters are based in Thailand and who've moved to Thailand to make this their full-time pursuit. Really good win, really good stuff. I've really, really enjoyed what some of the elite female fighters have done of late. And like I mentioned before, it'd be cool if there was some sort of elite platform for them. And again, it's cross promotion is the only way it's possible. Just in terms of we need all the brands to say this is the tournament to watch, because One Championship's had some good tournaments, K1's had some good tournaments, but right now the feel to them isn't, hey, this is producing the best guy, or this is producing something more than just a champion for the division. Now, Chingiz Alzov's got a great argument because he won a K1 tournament and he won a One Championship tournament and he beat the elite guys by stoppage at the top for the most part. So, of course, he's got the best resume. Worldwide, people recognize him as the best guy in the world. But, man, overall, if we can get something like that for the women's game, where we can get like some sort of tournament buildup so that we can pay attention to one girl and then fall in love with the other girls who were in the tournament. We haven't been able to do it. It'd be dope if we could. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to Yuki Yuzo gets a victory. And again, if you've ever seen Yuki Yuzo fight, you know the calf kicks are coming, but it's not just that he's calf kicking, but he builds on his boxing afterwards. So he gets the calf kicks going, scores with the boxing, gets a knockdown, wins on the cards very clear, and then it moves us to where we are right now. So it's already been announced, so I'm already, heartbroken. But Nabil, the champion, is going to go at 135, is going to go against Haggerty. That is the fight that they're building towards. Good fight. Great fight, I'd even say. It's going to be an awesome, awesome showcase. And Nabil, it's the one thing that One Championship has struggled to do is make new stars. And I would say of the stars they have, Rodtang had already had a little bit of notoriety. He fought in Japan against Tenshin. But I still think that he's still a One Championship built guy, like made famous by that. Super Bond famous before, Sid Shai famous before, the guys who they've gotten from K1, Yukio's is another one of them, famous before. They've struggled to make new stars. Good fights, great fights. Guys are getting paid, so on, despite what we're going to talk about later, finances and stuff with One Championship. Opportunities are there. but they're struggling for, I don't know who this guy, now I know who they are. Haggerty is one of their guys. He's one of the guys who was built and made a star by his efforts and won championship. He is one of their guys. Nabil could also be one of their guys. A guy who we don't know, like didn't know him on the international circuit before he built his name and won championship. Shout out to him, very skilled. This is a good fight. It's still not the fight that I wanted. I wanted Yuki Yuzo versus Jonathan Haggerty. So I'm hoping that somehow Haggerty is able to have success so that I can get that fight. Because the fight between Rodtang and Takuru was supposed to be an awesome, awesome spectacle. It's supposed to be a great back and forth. It's supposed to be an elite level fight. But both guys had lost to Superleg. So then it became the championship of the guys who lost to Superleg. It didn't feel special. It didn't feel the same, like it was tainted by the fact that they didn't do it right away. And that happens in all combat sports. There is that rare opportunity where you can put the fight together and it's all action and it's beneficial for both guys. And it didn't make it. So I remember when Superleg was pulled out, or excuse me, when Rodtang was injured and he couldn't do the first one, I remember saying to myself, they should just give him a bum. They should just give Takuru a bum. Just give him a guy so that we keep this fight available. They didn't go that direction, and then Superleg, of course, ends up beating both guys back to back, and it tainted it when they did finally fight. And then, of course, it got stopped in the first round, and it's like, it was a who cares moment, as opposed to one of the great all-time kickboxing back and forth. Now, again, both are, Takura in particular, the wars have added up. So maybe he's not the same jaw or chin that he had when he was standing in front of people exchanging and banging away, but man, it's just heartbreaking that it wasn't what it could have been. That's why I'm afraid right now. Because if Nabil comes out and gets the victory, Nabil versus Yuki Yuzo, good fight, not the same. Not the same. I'm just going to say it's going to be a great fight, still not the same. There is a star feel behind Haggerty. There is a star feel behind Yuki Yuzo. So I'm excited to see what happens. Hopefully they fight, have good success. Haggerty's, if he wins, end of the year, we're talking about one of the great elite fights of the season, and we've had some fun ones. We've had some fun matchups. I'm hoping that comes together and it finishes well. So I'm going to finish with a couple things as far as the state of the game, looking at what's happening in kickboxing world. Glory, of course, is staying regular. They've got their heavyweight tournament that they've been doing throughout the years. That's going to finish in December. They've had some fun stuff. They've had elite fights and elite fighters go against each other and fight on a regular basis. Quasi, of course, is defending his title again coming up. So they're sustainable, and they're doing a great job with what they're doing. They're staying within their means, not doing shows or paying guys outside of the means where they can't be a successful business for years to come. They're doing great stuff in Europe. Clearly, the hope is if you're that brand that you're able to branch out. Even in Europe, it'd be fun if they did a show in Spain. It'd be fun if they went to Portugal. It'd be fun if they, tested the waters a little bit to see what they could accomplish on the scene. So that'd be a lot of fun. So I'm definitely curious to see how that goes. Also, I'm looking at I will look at K1. They've got announced their max tournament. One of the fighters, Mason Strodeman's actually been in my gym training, getting better all the time. Very talented guy who really wants to go out there and make a name for U.S. kickboxing. He wants to get on that world-class scene. And like other people, like Jackie Bunton, we have the athletes, we have the talent, but because we don't have people, because of our commissions, we can't do regular shows in kickboxing like the rest of the world. In Holland, you could fight. Remember Ernesto who's telling me this, the country is 3.5 hours from one side to the other, and there's like 100 to 150 gyms. There's a lot of fight gyms, a lot of fighters. You could fight once a week if you wanted to. You can build your resume there. In America, we can only build it on our tournaments. We've got these big major tournaments, TBA, the Waco tournaments. Like we've got big tournaments. IKF's got one that they do in Arizona's got one that they do. But they're the best way you can build your fight resume. And because people don't have the pro option, they stay amateur as long as they can. But in the situation of Jackie Bunton and Janet Todd, again, they've got, Brian Popejoy is a great coach, so that goes a long way. But they were able to go out and fight on that world stage and have success. And it doesn't always go that way. It doesn't always happen that way for our American athletes. but we're capable of doing it. Most of us go pro, take a couple fights, and stop, but they don't pursue it full. Mason's trying to pursue it full. Won the Husky Fat tournament earlier this year, 3 stoppages in a row, working on his kickboxing game, making sure he's the best available for his opportunity when he goes out to Japan. They have all the returning 8 from last year, except for Bacau. They've got a great tournament scene. They're pushing it. They're staying within their financial means as opposed to doing these big huge shows and paying guys a whole bunch of money. They're looking at mistakes that they made in the past and they say, hey, we can only move in a certain direction at a certain pace. I think they're making wise decisions there for their business. One championship, of course, Chatri had to come out, and you even heard Takuru come out. Takuru came out. He was upset with his K1 situation. And it's weird because I got to imagine Takuru was a millionaire after the match. Him and Tenshin Nasukawa brought in so much money. I got to imagine that night he made, you know, more than $1 million. Like it was, I mean, way more than $1 million, especially with pay-per-view points, stuff like that. You know, like is I got to imagine he did really well. I just think maybe he was upset with just his base pay once he looked back at some of his other fights. Maybe getting the one check made you look at, hey, how do I do the other fights? And I think maybe K1's like, hey, bro, this is the range that we're in. We have to stay there. So then, of course, one championship pops up. No, we'll pay you blank, 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 you know? And then, of course, he left and he was upset about that. He talked about like fighters getting their own hotels and he talked about, and I'm just going off Takuru's post. Basically, it's really because it wasn't prompted by anybody in the K1 organization that I think of, and I don't think it was prompted by anybody in one championship, to the best of my knowledge. Apologize if I'm wrong. Let me know. Send it to me or message me if I've got this incorrect. But I just think that the rumors started to swell, and there are people who, as Chatri said, don't want one championship to be successful. So some media people had posted some things about the deal that they have with Prime Video and posted some things about investors throughout and how they weren't. People want, after years of the business losing hundreds of millions of dollars, people want to see a return. They want to see that it's going to turn into something. And I think that someone had just posted, and I remember I almost messaged the guys like, yo, this is a brave post, you know, saying to put this out there because it's the kind of thing, if you post it, will that media outlet or will that promotion allow you as a media outlet moving forward? I can't think of the gentleman who posted the video. I apologize. I wanted to at least give you a platform because if you put the research in and you say, hey, this is what's true about the company, you're doing journalism. So, like, now, of course, you should always have that added step of reaching out to whoever the company is and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to post. Would you have a comment? Would you like to add to it? But Chatri came out, and Chatri's had a few moments where one moment he said, you know, K1 and Rise and everything is small and I'm big. And then later he goes, it was misinterpreted. I'd like to work with Rise down the road. Not sure where that came from. Like, I don't sure what motivated the either comment. So that came out. And then Chatri also mentioned, of course, with this gentleman and other people in media, he mentioned that, hey, you know, there were some mistakes made, which, you know, people hadn't heard from him before. Like he had mentioned there were mistakes made, but also he said the goal of one championship being profitable one day, we're still on course for that. And he brought up what they're paying, but people are noticing things. $100,000 bonus turned into 100,000 bot bonus. Like people notice stuff like that. So like I think Chatri took the stand of we're still doing it. He mentioned that they sell at international events, but he also mentioned the missteps that they took with the shows and the things that had to be canceled. Referring to, of course, they had to cancel the show in Atlanta last year because it looked like, hey, they're growing. They're gonna do another show in America. And then all of a sudden they canceled that show, and then they had a show canceled for Denver, which they've done before, and that was supposed to be next week, I want to say, and then that was canceled months ago. They said because of a fighter. They said communication with the fighter, and then they put the whole show down because Stamp couldn't fight. That's going to be a red flag to the fight community. Like people are going to go, wait a minute, that's odd. One fighter dropped off the card, not even a fighter that's from the area that you're going to, as if she's such a elite superstar and a draw that people were coming for her. If we didn't have her on the card, we weren't going to do it. I don't know if that is the best. I didn't think it went over the best with the kickboxing and Muay Thai community. I don't think a lot of people heard that and go, "Oh, that makes sense. She's off the card, so you got to cancel the whole card." A lot of people struggle with that, you know. I see what One Championship's trying to do. I see like what they're trying to build on, and I see how they're trying to pay their fighters. But also, I remember having I was rewatching MPL the other day. I always watch old Muay Thai whenever I'm on planes. There's two things you can expect. One, I'm going to tell the person sitting next to me about Jesus, and two, I'm going to talk about kickboxing, or I'm going to watch videos on my phone. And I'm looking at these old videos, and I'm saying to myself, man, this MPL, I remember when I interviewed Clifton Brown about it, and he said, well, man, they should get paid like the elite level mixed martial artists. And I go, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I want MPL here for 20 plus years. Work and do prices with a means that you can keep sustaining this for a long time. That's my hope for the company, because I love kickboxing. I love Muay Thai. I want us to have platforms. It's free. I mean, it's just laughing the other day. Valentina Shevchenko was on there. Valentina Shevchenko is a millionaire many times over now. Back then, she was a fighter traveling, looking for opportunities to compete. Her and her coach going against the best of the world, going all over the world. She's able to get a victory that night. Julie Kitchen, back in the day, she was able to get a victory that night. I just look at where the sport is, and I go, man, it'd be so cool if MPL would still be here. It'd be so cool if Super League was still here. All these things have gone away because people didn't work within their means. K1 Glory worked within the means, and they're starting to build, and hopefully down the road, maybe you're paying a fighter something this day, but down the road they're going to pay them this way. It's hard for a fighter to look at what they got paid back in the day, or look at what people got paid in the past and see it lower now and go, well, wait a minute, why am I getting paid less? I should get paid more. It makes perfect sense to me. But if One Championship's going to be here for 10 plus years, I really do hope, and again, I don't have the financials in front of me. I only know of what's been leaked and what I've experienced from fighters and from people who've worked within the organization who have expressed things. It does seem like it's going to be difficult for them to have financial success consistently with the business model that they have now. But the other part of my heart is, man, I train fighters for a living, and I would love for all of my fighters to be able to compete and have the opportunity to make good money in a very dangerous game. So when Takuro comes out and says, hey, we're not getting, this for medical care, we're not getting this, paid this, you guys didn't take care of us the way that you could have taken care of us. It could be valid from his viewpoint. Like, it's not a wrong statement if that's how he feels, But also, K1's got to say, hey, how can we be here for 10, 15, 20 years? And they had a reset. We're talking about a company who had a reset. We're going to have to start over. We're paying all these guys with this big money for these heavyweight kickboxing tournaments. What's our gates bringing in? What's our TV deals? Can we sustain keeping these guys? And they couldn't, so they had to make a decision to go in a different direction. And those fighters, usually you look at Jabba Askarov is a good example of it. Jabba Askarov took on the when he started fighting the local scene. He said, I'm tired of gyms, and I'm tired of these fight promotions not paying me my worth, saying, hey man, we don't have that kind of money that K1 have. He goes, I know what I'm worth, and so on. And then at the end of his career, where he could have been fighting and he could have been making money, he instead had fewer and fewer opportunities, and the next thing you know, you're a coach. So it's when I hear stuff like that, and I desire the success of the sport, it does break my heart that we get to these spots sometimes, where we get to spots where we're like, man, we have elite level guys who would like to get paid a certain amount of money, which is why they go into mixed martial arts and hope to have success in a sport and learn late in their life, can I get to this level? Can I fight in this sport? And some of them, I'm seeing some kickboxers have success and some not success in mixed martial arts, but they all know that the UFC is the most powerful brand in the world. So I'm going to leave and go there because I can consistently get paid a good check if I could stay there. One Championship seems to be of the same spot. It's the grass is always greener on the other side. There are people within One Championship who are like, I've been here for a while, but I only got to fight this once. I want to go somewhere else. And there's someone in K1 who's like, man, I'm doing this, I'm having success, but I heard blank blank's getting paid this. I want to go over to One Championship. And that's where we are in the sport right now. But for any of these organizations, work within your means so that we have you here down the road, because we need it. We need it. I love kickboxing. I love Muay Thai. It was heartbreaking that I started this podcast in 2008, 2009. Started the podcast, had no idea what K1's going to be. One Championship starting to be rumored as it's coming around. But Thai Fight, remember Thai Fight back in the day? The first Thai Fight tournament was fantastic. Like it had Liam Harrison was in that tournament. They had elite level guys. And then it turned into Thais beating up Westerners. And then I did less and less shows, and then it went away. And I don't want that to happen. There was so many organizations that I've seen come and go in kickboxing, and a lot of it does come down to, hey, we want to get paid our worth, or we want to pay a little bit more, or we didn't get the sponsor for this. It's difficult to run a show, to do fight promotion. I've been doing it for a while. It's difficult. So when fighters get to the place where they're like, everyone thinks that the promoter just has it. Like, they just have it. Like, you could do this. I worked one of my shows. I had a guy who has debut on my fight card, and he goes, "Oh man, I'm not fighting unless I get my people in here." And I go, "How many is your people?" And he goes, "Oh, there's 9 of us." I'm not giving you 9 free tickets to fight on my card. Like, I just got to be in love. I can't lie to you and say I need you on my card that much that I'm going to allow 9 people to come in and pay for watch a whole fight event on the back that you're here. As a fighter, sometimes they just think that I have it. And again, that show that I'm talking about, that was a sold out show. And this guy's asking for me to add 9 new people in it. Most fighters are not conscious that a promoter has or doesn't have. The higher the production, the higher the level, the more they expect that you should put more in their pocket. Some can, most can't. UFC can. They can. They've got a long sustaining brand. They can do it for a while. K1 had to restart. In their restart, they started to pay guys better as they did better. But in the end, unless you have a big TV deal or unless you have big pay-per-view numbers, you're not going to be able to sustain paying people like that. They're in a model that makes sense for them to sustain their company for years to come. The guys who take advantage of that, who fight in there, shout out to them. They're making the most of it. The guys who decide to move on and look for a different opportunity, shout out to them. They're looking for what they want in combat sports. None of it's wrong. It's not like there's a good answer or a bad answer. There's not like there's a right answer or a wrong answer. Every athlete's got to do what's best for them. That's where we are in the state of kickboxing right now. So with Chatri coming out, kind of defending and then making an argument for where his company is and what they're trying to accomplish, the whole world's asking for numbers. Like, show us numbers. This is what you're doing. Show us where your business model is going to lead for stuff down the road. And because he's not there where he wants to be as of yet, he doesn't feel confident in putting that stuff out there. Maybe the model that he's trying to put together, it's going to happen down the road. If he shows it to you right now, you're going to panic, or investors are going to panic. He's got to do what's the best for one championship and for Chatri. Right now, the thing that he feels is best is accumulating the most talent, getting the best guys, paying them whatever way to keep them around, and then maybe this will get bigger investors, TV deals, and so on to people to commit to it. But if you don't do this on a platform where people know who your athletes are, it's always going to be tough. It's always going to be tough. And, shout out to Beyond Kickboxing. They are, really picking up where Liver Kick left off, and they're carrying the kickboxing world on their shoulders. Like, we reach out to them, we message them, hey, this is happening this time, this card's happening this time, cover this event. They're doing their best with them and their staff to make much of this game and getting it out there. But they're only one media platform. We've got to get more of the Luke Thomases of the world, the Ariel Helwanis of the world to take a step and pay attention to kickboxing more. So when you get those opportunities, send these guys content, and then be honest. Ariel had Chatri on the show, and then, Chatri made his arguments. People are going to jump on his brand, and he feels like there are people online who will have the goal of not seeing one championship be successful. I have a goal of seeing kickboxing be its best. I love it. These tournaments and these videos and these, highlight breakdowns I do, it's because I love it. So hopefully they'll put it all together. Hopefully it'll be, in the end, sustainable, high-level kickboxing options for people to go and make money and build their brand. And I really do love it. I do love it. And I want the stand-up game to have success. It just doesn't always have that platform. And again, it's just, lightning in the bottle. I mean, that's what you're talking about when you talk about the UFC and what it's accomplished. One championship, if it can get there one day, that would be dope. K1, I still think, has probably one of the stronger international names. I'll go to shows all over the world where they'll have that K1 brand or K1 rules on it. It's got a strong brand in its history, but in its rebuild, it's working within its means to make sure that they can do shows for years to come and have that platform and still bring international guys. And I do hope and wish for the best for a lot of these elite level athletes and a lot of these high-level kickboxers, but I also understand that this is a business and it's about money. So if they pay you what you want today and they're gone tomorrow, they didn't accomplish anything. And it didn't accomplish anything for you because you're going to be looking for that check still. So that's just kind of where we are in kickboxing right now. Hopefully, we'll continue to see big stars and big fights. Hopefully, I get my Yuka Haggerty. Hopefully, this 8-man K1 Max tournament produces a star. Hopefully, the K1 Heavyweight Grand Prix that's returning next year, or well, February, Marchish. Hopefully, that produces stars, and we continue to get elite level opportunities for high level kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters. So, I was thinking about saving this, but I'm not going to save it. I'm going to put it on this podcast show. I want to give a personal shout out to Lindsay Haycraft. Lindsay Shear, back when she fought, got married to Eric Haycraft, the coach. Lindsay Haycraft is doing amazing stuff with what kickboxing and Muay Thai can do. She works with a lot of disabled children in terms of like whether it's weakness in limbs or loss of limbs or people who are just born with natural disabilities. And she's got this program where she's got them, doing strikes. She's got them doing cardio. She's got them doing excellent. It warms my heart to see that and we're talking about a woman who fought world-class opposition. She had a very competitive fight, even though she came up short. She had a very competitive fight with Valentina Shevchenko. Probably cheated of a down in that fight, by the way. But got to fight in China, got to fight all over the world, got to fight in Holland, got to fight on all these big organizations, got to fight for all these elite companies. She now, mother of 2 or 3, I want to say 3, is back working at their gym, in Louisville, and I see these videos every time I go down my wall because I stop and I watch them. Lindsay Haycraft is working with disabled children who bringing smiles to their face, having them throw punches for the first time, having them throw kicks for the first time. Some situations, having them walk where they didn't think they could. She is doing special things in life. It warms my heart every time I see those videos. So shout out to Lindsay Haycraft. I am so grateful that the kickboxing game was blessed with a person like you. God bless. Thank you for everybody listening to my podcast. I hope you continue to follow and support the show. I hope this show is what you're looking for in terms of giving you kickboxing content. I try to be regular, but I'm a busy person between fight promotions, I'm almost on a plane like every month, twice a month, going and working. So I'm grateful to be that spot as a coach. But man, I like to sit down, take my time to put these videos together. Grateful that I have this. Grateful that I have this podcast. Grateful that I have these listeners. God bless, and you guys have a good one. Peace.